The Sheriff's Office and the Department of Behavioral Wellness have partnered up to respond to mental health crises in an innovative way. We currently have 3 mental health co-response teams, which includes a CIT deputy, so a deputy that's trained in crisis intervention, and a mobile crisis clinician, responding together in an unmarked vehicle to mental health crisis calls with the objective of de-escalating the situation and diverting the person from the criminal justice system if and when it is safe and appropriate to do so. We often get calls at the Sheriff's Office for folks that are in a mental health crisis because there's nowhere else to call or they feel like there's nowhere else to go.
One of the advantages of our co-response program is it allows myself and my clinical partner to have a working relationship. She has obviously the clinical experience that she brings to each call, whereas my role is primarily focused on public safety as well as ensuring that she remains safe throughout the call. Are you going to want to talk to him?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
want to ask him a couple questions.
That call was initially reported as a disturbance call. However, one of the involved parties was someone who we've had some history with before, and we know that they suffer from mental illness and have been erratic and violent in the past. So my partner and I decided to go and see if we could help patrol.
The deputies in Santa Barbara are amazing because they're always first and foremost concerned about our safety and the safety of the community.
One of the benefits of co-response is that they work as a team, so oftentimes when they get on scene, the CIT trained deputy is working with the individual, helping to de-escalate them, while the clinician's able to get a better clinical picture of the entire situation, maybe get some collateral information, look up information in the electronic health record, so they're better able to get the individual the best services they need in that moment.
Once we got there, we learned that he had been following school children around as they're getting on the bus, and so based on what information we got today, my partner determined that he needed to go on a 5150 hold to have that 72-hour psychiatric evaluation at the hospital. This was an example of why we like having the clinicians come with us in the vehicle, is it allows us to get that mental health provider on scene very rapidly.
Prior to the co-response program, if while on scene that deputy determined that the person met criteria for a psychiatric detention or a 5150 because they were either a danger to themselves, a danger to others, or gravely disabled, they would call our partners over at the Department of Behavioral Wellness and ask for them to arrive on scene.
That can be a very time-consuming process. It can add easily an hour to an hour and a half to the call.
And so we thought there was a way that we could do this better. And the way that we could do this better was pairing behavioral wellness clinicians with law enforcement deputies that have specialized experience and training in mental health response, working together to arrive to the scene to help that person.
And a lot of times that's actually safer, because if a person is acting erratically and violently, the longer we wait around before we make that decision, the more dangerous it becomes.
As an example, say there's somebody who is feeling suicidal. While the deputy is en route to the call, gathering information from the radio, the clinician is looking up the history of that person, and so that eliminates time where that person would have been waiting for a response. Now we're able to arrive to the scene much quicker and address the clinical issues much quicker.
It's extremely helpful having that partner right then and there with you, and I think it's working out really well. We're learning a lot from each other. She's an essential tool to my ability to do my job.
The co-response team does follow up on a lot of the mental health calls that patrol deputies or even the CIT deputies may go out on, and that's been really beneficial to engage the individual sometimes after they've been in crisis.
Hello, my name is Deputy Kirk. This is my partner. We're part of the co-response team.
Sometimes initially there may be a little bit of fear about why a cop is at the door.
2 weeks ago, he looked forward to the shot, but right now he's super paranoid, won't do anything.
Okay.
Okay.
You guys might already have this is the access line. You can give that to him.
Okay.
If anything else comes up, be happy to come back and talk to him.
But once they realize that this is a co-response team that's there to help them and provide some resources and other information, they feel a lot better about it, and they're actually appreciative that the team showed up and is there to help them.
Every single interaction I've ever had with the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Office has been thoroughly professional.
Outstanding.
You guys are great.
It's good to hear. I like hearing that.
Thank you.
So in 2018, we started our pilot program, and we had our CIT deputy and a caseworker from behavioral wellness one day every other week responding to mental health calls. And we started to gain a lot of traction. We got a lot of good feedback from NAMI, the National Alliance for Mental Illness, who works directly with families of people that are experiencing these crises. So one day every other week turned into 4 days a week, and that pilot continued until the Sheriff's Office and the Department of Behavioral Wellness were able to secure grant funding to not just continue this team full-time, but to expand the unit and have 3 separate co-response teams, 2 of which work in South County, and then our North County mental health co-response team covers Santa Maria and also covers West County, including Buellton, San Ynez, and Solvang.
So what we find with doing these follow-ups, it's lowered the number of calls and allowed deputies more time to do other things instead of responding to these. So we give it the attention that it needs, and it lowers the amount of times deputies have to go out there. So it's been very effective.
In the year 2020, the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Office had a total of about 3,000 mental health crisis calls. Out of those 3,000 mental health crisis calls, a co-response team covered about 1,600, which is about 54% of all crisis calls for the county. Out of those 1,600 calls, only 11 persons went to jail. And so what the teams did with the rest of that group that they were working with is figured it out. And sometimes that meant a safety plan, sometimes that meant taking that person to their clinician they were already set up with, sometimes that meant a psychiatric hospitalization, and sometimes that just meant talking for a little while.
That call initially started as a family disturbance, but one of the individuals involved is someone we've had several interactions with before, who suffers from chronic mental illness. Once we got there, we found that during some sort of disagreement, she threw a glass bottle at a juvenile who was on scene, striking the juvenile. And so based on her history of mental illness, her erratic behavior, and assaulting a juvenile, my partner decided to place her on a 5150 hold, which means we're going to take her to the hospital for a 72-hour psychiatric evaluation.
What we have found is that oftentimes the folks in mental health crisis are not needing necessarily to go to jail, but are needing immediate support and treatment.
I think expanding this program would be a huge benefit to the community. I've had a number of department members and especially supervisors have commented to me that they very much appreciate having a CIT team to respond to these mental health emergencies, and that during the times when we're not available, that it's much more challenging, much more time consuming to resolve these crises.
We see, as much of the nation is seeing, an increase in the volume and acuity of mental health crises. A lot of that has to do with COVID, a lot of that has to do with just the increase in stress that people are dealing with in their daily lives, and a lot of that has to do also with the lack of behavioral health resources that we're seeing nationwide, not just in Santa Barbara County. So if 3 teams were able to take care of 54% of all of our calls, imagine what we could do if we have 24/7 coverage.
The beauty of this partnership is that mental health is real, and law enforcement is doing the very best they can with the tools that they have to try to help folks. But I think the partnership and learning how to trust each other and knowing that at the end of the day, the goal of the sheriffs in Santa Barbara, what I've learned, and working with all of them is that they truly care. And they truly care about the people, and they truly care about the community. So I'm really honored to have the opportunity to work with these men and women every day.